Thank you for joining me on the Michael Tobin Show. This is part 2, titled Pipe Bombs and Think Tanks. It's part 2 from part 1. Yesterday, I gave a prequel for today's broadcast. It was titled, what was it titled? Pipe Bombs and Pipe Dreams. Pipe Bombs and Pipe Dreams, because we all know what happened yesterday morning, earliest of the morning, coming in from latest 2 nights ago. So yesterday being Wednesday, it actually started Tuesday very late. A whole mess of packages sent to a whole mess of people. Politicians, all being Democrat, and today even actor Robert De Niro got some kind of a package. As could be expected, the news media is on a frenzy, and the internet is on a whole big old frenzy. And a particular radio station I was listening to yesterday while I was at work with my earbuds, the talk show host had a whole half hour at least of phone calls from people thinking, what is their take on the pipe bomb and the packages? And all except for the very last caller said that he believes it is Trump supporters. It has to be a Republican because it's so amateur and whatever. And you look at all the rest of them. The point being is everybody, the majority of people, citizens, believe that it's not what it looks like. Obviously, because of the amateurish devices, the amateurish methods of printing labels and misspelling names, and even having a so-called pipe bomb with wires sticking out of both ends. And experts are saying that pipe bombs just don't have wires sticking out both ends. And allegedly, there actually was materials inside of these explosive devices, like glass shards and whatnot. But I am going to give you my take on who and why. But first, I want to begin this by reading another scripture. Yesterday, I read from Psalms about how the evil people are entrapped in their own devices. Today, I want to read from Proverbs, chapter 27, verses 1 through 3. Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. Let another man praise thee, and not thine own mouth, a stranger, and not thine own lips. A stone is heavy, and the sand weighty, but a fool's wrath is heavier than them both. So, there's either one of two types of people who could have come up with this type of thing. And at first glance, you would think that it was an amateur. And one of my first responses yesterday upon getting up in the morning and turning on the news, which I usually don't do because I'm getting ready for work, making my high-class lunch of peanut butter and jelly. One of my first reactions was, it could be some high school group of students getting a kick. And that is very well possible also, because we see how our high school and junior high students are ditching school and marching down the streets with all their chants and things. And it's like a new era for youngsters. And several months ago, when these UPS, I believe UPS, I don't know if it was FedEx, but it was at least UPS, on a number of locations, there were explosive devices. And they ended up finding the person. It was a young person. I'm not sure if it was high school age or maybe in their 20s, but it was a young person. And that story is pretty much out of all of our minds. It disappeared. Within a couple of weeks ago, there were some sorts of packages with rice in or something. It was intended for members of Donald Trump's cabinet or Donald Trump himself. I don't know. If I was doing this as my my means of living, I would have all day, every day, to be able to do the research. But you could do the research yourself. I can't remember all the names. The names are just flying through my head as I read articles. I very rarely watch the TV news. I watch the TV news sometimes just to check in on how they're acting like a bunch of popular school kids, 24/7 criticizing our president. And even when Obama was president for his 2 terms, it was 24/7 on independent media against the president. And now this whole over a year of our new president, Donald Trump, is 24/7 on mainstream media. So yes, they are all talking about toning it down, but just before Governor Cuomo was a guest on CNN during this hour, by the way, it is 12:33 noon, October 25th, 12:33 Pacific time, October 25th, 2018. Just before Governor Cuomo was, New York's governor, was a guest, the CNN news lady, and I don't even want to call them journalists. I don't know what to call them. They're not even news readers. They're commentators. We don't see news on national television news networks. We see commentary. So they're anything but journalists. There was a panel of the lady who is the host of CNN during this hour, along with 2 other ladies. And what are they doing? Them and all day news commentators, they're judging President Trump by what he should have been talking about, what he should have said. And then Cuomo gives the perfect way to cause people who are fanning the fire, fanning the flames of division, the perfect way to get them to stop. What they're doing is to just change the channel. The movie's negative, change the channel, turn it off, don't listen to it. And the lady who is the news commentator, I'm sure she's thinking, oh, we're doing the same thing. All they got to do is turn us off. But if you go back and listen to it, it's the perfect way to keep, quote, fake news, unquote, from continuing. In fact, I'm coming to you as a former news director of a radio station for 5 years. I know that it is all based on ratings. It's sad to say, but it is all based on ratings. But going forward, I want to tell you who I believe is behind these pipe bombs and packages and why. But first, I want to give you the list of all it takes. I'm frantically walking around the house right now. I can't sit down and do this stuff anymore. I'm only coming to you on Spreaker, and it is automatically broadcast to my YouTube, and of course I share it with my friends on Facebook. So My takes on this, if I could get all 3 pages that I actually wrote on, 2 or 3, my notes, and first impressions are actually very important. I actually did take the time to do that. Take number 1, kumbaya. There is a kumbaya kind of a moment when we're saying, hey, let's bury the hatchet. This is a time that we need to unite and not divide. The people who are doing the very dividing are the ones saying, hey, you got to be a grown-up and unite, Mr. President, which is kind of a challenging thing to do when the very minute before you're saying we need to unite, you have a panel of mean, bully, popular kids of the school criticizing. Take number 2. There are a lot of references to they and those who. They and those. Well, who are they and those? Anybody you can think of is being described as they and those. And ironically, the day after this news break, they're capitalizing on the obvious, that every target is somebody who is against the president of the United States. Well, my contention is that this is purposeful, as well as it being purposeful that it appears amateurish. It appears that it is against one target. And the think tank part of my title is because it takes a think tank to figure out so many distractions on what is the motive behind this. It's just too ironic that all these packages actually made it to buildings, either through mail or courier. It takes somebody more brilliant than amateurish to figure out how to get all these, as well as none of these things exploding. Take 3, politically motivated. And that is the heart of what is being focused on right now, today. Tomorrow, who knows what they're going to focus on, but they got a lot of ifs to focus on. And another contention of mine is that they are going to find somebody. Who they are, I don't know. The law enforcement's involved will produce a person. But my contention is that person really has nothing to do with it. And somewhere down the line, that person will be taken care of. They'll disappear somewhere. They'll be given some other place to live their life, a different name. But my contention is that this is a false motivation for something like this, even though these things have happened quite a few times in American history, dating way back to the 1920s. Take number 4, terrorists. They are mentioning that it could be foreign terrorists involved, but that's only just a few seconds before getting on to their other main topics, which is political motivation. Number 5 is 6 postage stamps, but a courier delivered it. I don't even think that it actually went through the post office. But then again, maybe it did. So 6 postage stamps indicates that the person didn't weigh the package. They wanted to make sure that it went through the mail, but allegedly that one package that is all over the news, it's a yellow package, it was delivered by a courier. And one package was actually delivered to a different news building than the person's name, which was misspelled, was on the package. The person is affiliated with a particular news station, but the package went to a news station that this person was not affiliated with. So another intended amateurish act. My contention is that this is all intended and not for what it appears to be the motivation. Take number 6. Let's see, Easter. Okay, I got up during the 9 a.m. hour Eastern time, and the 6 a.m. hour Pacific time. Actually, that was when it was actually starting to get big on the news. I got up a little later. I got up more like 10 a.m. because I work the second shift currently. Take number 7. The targets at such an ironic time of elections, and Hillary Clinton was in Florida, almost similarly to the way President George Bush, the younger, was also in Florida when 9/11 happened. And I don't know what that's all about, but that could be related to what my ultimate contention is which I'm going to get to. And at the same time that former President Obama, is campaigning for other Democrats running for office. That was take 7. Take 8 is completely changing the national narrative from definite persons in FBI and elected officials literally plotting an illegal framing of then candidate and now President Donald Trump. So the day before this happened, or actually the very midnight, late hours this happened, it was definitely revealed, even in mainstream media, bunch of names, which, like I said earlier, I can't even remember the names. If I had the time, I would have some points. I would have notes of who and what and where. But there is one person that I can refer to you to. Go to iHeartRadio and look for some podcasts, and in the search, look for Dan Bongino. He's the only guy that I could listen to and get a clear explanation on what is actually going on with these magnificent espionage political attempts at coup d'etats, as if the United States is like a banana republic or some other kind of a nation where the rulers are constantly being overthrown, constantly imprisoned, murdered, and things like that. We're not too far behind with this type of activity when a presidential candidate, is being framed by higher members of law enforcement, not the lower members, but higher members and politicians. So my contention, here it is. Everybody who is named in these lists, with the exception of Robert De Niro, I think he's just a little bonus on putting the blame on Donald Trump, which people in law enforcement actually know better. It would be interesting to find out what the whole conclusion of this investigation is going to be. I started to read the 9/11 report, which is a big fat paperback book, when it came out, and it read just like a movie, and I couldn't stand it because it just wasn't telling me anything. So the report, we're not going to find out. We're not going to find out what the motivation is, and it's going to be left for us to debate for the rest of American history. But my contention is that this act, it's not even an act of cowardice. It's not an act of a lunatic. It is an act of a think tank of people who are warning all of these senators, congressional members, and congresswomen, senators, all of these people who are on the list, Joe Biden, as well as Hillary and Bill Clinton and former President Obama. They all know that the only way that they fit in to the category of being a target is that names and numbers and the whole story is all written down, and they are being warned not to divulge any information on who is behind trying to overturn an American presidency. Not Donald Trump, not his name. It's not about him. It is about an American presidency, a valid American presidency. And whether you know it or not, this is the highest seriousness of our government that is going on right now. So all these people who are behind sending all of these packages have a lot to lose, which is their freedom. And my contention is that President Obama and Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, because he's married to Hillary Clinton, they are all, the whole group of people which these devices were allegedly sent to, are being warned not to divulge information, because I don't wish prison on anybody. I believe that Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, all of our past presidents for like 100 years, they have been told, because once you get to a certain height, you're told to either comply or go away. So Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Obama, they got themselves in a big mess. Possibly they figured they could get in it and through it and survive it and live a happy life. But you're either going to take one side or the other. And I don't know what it's like to be coerced, but they do. So pray for the United States, pray for Mexico, which all these bands of people, evidently for 10 years they've been doing this every year, but it got no media attention, but they do this every year. So pray for Mexico, the Hurricane Willa, and whatever other hurricane may come before all these people get up like 1,000-mile trek up Mexico to the what's most likely going to be the San Diego border with Mexico. So pray for Hillary Clinton, pray for Bill Clinton, pray for our president, Donald Trump, Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, all the foolishness. Well, this could have been a lot of collateral damage, in Nancy Pelosi's words, and so many other words that have been, it's almost as if they don't realize the potential of everything they say. And at the same time, they do realize it, because they simply want votes. They want to get in this thing. They want to get out of it successfully as whatever they call success, whatever they call success. But we know that as Christians, believers, true success is in the Lord. So that's my take on this, and this is part 2 of 2. I usually don't jump on things immediately. For one, I don't have the time to. I can cover it a lot better if I did jump on things immediately, if I was doing this as my means of living, which I always give away the information on how people can help me. One of these times I'll be discovered, and I can do this a lot more effectively. And I know that there is a need, there is a market for somebody such as myself in Southern California to be boots on the ground and cover what's going on in California, as well as the United States, of course, but what's going on in my region of the United States effectively. So thanks for joining me, you guys. God bless you, and have a wonderful day.